Hello ladies, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to talk about what I think in terms of would I recommend stripping as a career or a job choice for somebody just starting out. Now I hear this question a lot and it can go both ways, and I think I came up with a couple points that I want to go over with you, my advice as to how I think you should go about it to make it a good choice, because you can make this decision to be a stripper a good or a bad thing depending on how you go about it, okay? And I say this because I think this happens where a lot of ladies fall into this horrible trap of dancing, is that they don't know anything. So when they go into it, they, go to bad clubs, they get into bad situations, and things just kind of spiral or don't really go in a good direction. So let me just go over a couple things. So first of all, I feel like it's really important that you pick the right kind of club. Now, I have said this in many videos before, but I'm going to stress this a lot. It is very, very imperative that you pick a decent club to work at. That is like 50% of your battle right there. Okay, maybe even more than 50%. Because if you do not work at a decent club, you are going to have so many issues beyond anything that it's just not going to worth even being a dancer. You might as well just go get a regular job. Okay, so find a good club. That is the first thing you should do. Make sure you feel safe there. Make sure that your boundaries feel good, and make sure that it is legit. Okay, that will definitely make everything so much easier. Okay, so, and then another thing, the number 2 point I want to bring up is to make this a good choice for a job to do is do not go into this with desperation. Okay, this is the other common trap I see a lot of girls fall into, is they think that they're going to go and make a bunch of money because they got A, B, and C, D going on. They got kids they have to feed. They're getting kicked out in a couple weeks. Some drug addiction or some kind of other problem. If you go into this industry because of desperation, that is a problem. Now, I'm not saying you can't go in and make some money to get yourself out of a situation, because yes, you can. But it is not the job that's going to clear you of all your problems quickly and just, you're going to make all this money and then you'll be fine. Okay. When you lead with desperation in this, that's when you start making bad choices, like going to bad, putting up with bad clubs, putting up with, dealing with bad employees, not respecting your own boundaries. And then when your boundaries get crossed, that's when that leads to other really bad problems that you definitely don't want to end up with because of this job. Okay, that's like the last thing. So I've seen a lot of girls do desperate things because they went into it with desperation, or they lowered their standards, and then, because of the desperation, in order to make money. And I've seen a lot of good girls end up doing things I know they never wanted to do because of some situation that they felt like was forcing them to cause them to do those things. So do not go into this job with desperation. Okay, that especially, that's when you start, like I said, making bad choices, bad decisions. And then I've seen, like I said, some bad things happen because of that. I don't care, even if you're a seasoned dancer and you've been doing this a long time, and because there's going to be times, you're going to go through maybe weeks or days where you don't make any money, or you leave owing the club money or whatever. There is no guarantee every night you're going to make money. Okay, it's not statistically possible. Okay, so that's why desperation, it's really important that you make sure that is out of the equation when you start this job. You want to go in with a clear mind and a clear goal of, I need A, B, C, and D before I can start this job. Okay, like I need to know what my boundaries are, or at least a somewhat of an idea, and I need to know what my standards are. Okay, so no desperation. Okay, ladies, especially I also say, if you have a lot of responsibility, sometimes that can lead to desperation. Addiction problems. Ladies, I hate to say it, but if you have any kind of addiction problems, depending on what it is and who you are, I would be a little cautious of this, especially, if you're trying to stay away from those kind of people or those kinds of things. Sometimes this industry can have people that, can make that a problem for you. So I'm just letting you know that this industry is not perfect. There are bad people in every industry, and stripping is not excluded from that. So, if you have addiction problems of any kind, make sure that you think about that too before you jump in. Okay? So, I also recommend that, depending on your goals, get out as soon as you can. Do this job, especially if you're young, do it for some years, whatever you feel comfortable doing. But always kind of have an exit plan in mind, or some kind of goal that you want to attain. Now, I've seen many ladies do this job for years on and off. Maybe they do it up until, their 40s or whatever. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes when we're young, we get caught up in the glamour of it and the fun and the glamour of it, I would say. And we don't think about those things. And we hate to hear people harp on us to say, oh, well, you got to have a goal and you got to think about getting out and you have to think about your future. Okay. Yes, I heard that too when I was young, and I got sick of people telling me that. But you know what? They were right. Okay. They were right. And I didn't listen when I was young. And, a lot of times when you first start out, you are going to make money. And sometimes it may even be too much money for somebody that young to be making, quite honestly. So just go, think about what you want to do after this, the novelty wears off or you start to get sick of it or something, whether that's finding a new job or getting married or finding a sugar daddy or whatever your goals are. Just remember that this job kind of is a dead end in a way. Okay, it's not something that has a lot of value for a very long time. Okay, and also I feel like, maybe the club that you work at a couple great clubs, but maybe those clubs won't be open forever. There's always a possibility of businesses shutting down. Things change, okay? Situations are always fluid, and you just never know what tomorrow can bring, okay? Obviously, what we're all going through right now, like, nobody thought in a million years this would happen. And some dancers might not have a club to go back to when all of this is over with, okay? I highly doubt any of them were ever suspecting this to ever happen to them, and it was probably not in their game plans. So that's why I always encourage you ladies to always have an emergency plan. You have savings, you have a guy to help you, you have some kind of idea of what you can do in case something goes wrong. There could be situations too that come up in the club that you might not, you could end up with a stalker, God forbid, or something crazy could happen and you have to leave that club. It could take you a while to find a new club that you want to work at. I mean, there's just a lot of things that can happen. So go over listen to all the advice I just gave you, go over it, and then decide if it's right for you, okay? Because I feel like if you go into this, if you think about these things first before you even decide if this is something you want to do, make sure you go about it this way. I feel like you can't go wrong if you go about it this way as opposed to just jumping in and just learning along the way, because I think when it comes to stripping, it's better off to be more prepared in terms of, being aware of your boundaries and your safety and security and those kinds of things. Because, it is kind of, it's not always it's not the norm job. It's not the normal, I guess, normal place to be considered, working at. And you just want to make sure that you're making good decisions in this industry is all I'm saying. And making sure your boundaries are respected is like the number one thing that will make this job really great. Okay. So yes, I would recommend this job if you go about it that way. If you do not go about it that way, I can't guarantee you success. I can't sit here and tell you everything would be okay and that you'll be fine. You're going to make lots of money and everything will be, great. Okay. I can't say that. So it just depends on you, what choices you make and how you take this advice. So if you ladies have any further questions, feel free to leave them below, and we will see you in the next video.